So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find then the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Israelic lineage, so then we can understand the time of the end, period Yeshayahu the prophet. Then we find a layer of understanding related with the 61st chapter, where then obviously you already understand the spring feast is the first section of it. Then comes the autumn feast. Then also related with it comes then, during the time of this restoration period, then the economies of the world going through a change. As you can understand, there is an article from United Kingdom related with the Brics, where then a person can already make plans so then they can invest in Brics. It is a bit expensive at first, but it is the best area you can ever imagine of investment of your money. The reason? Because in the very near future, these understanding in this area of investment is going to be obviously transforming itself, not only investing in infrastructure companies, but try to understand via what areas of the investment you can relate with the step-by-step formation. So let's say we are speaking of Daniel the 11th chapter. Daniel the 11th chapter speaks of then the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Then we find in the kingdom of the east a couple of chapters later. So then, as we understand, the European Union is going through a lot of trouble. Then the northern part of the Americas is in trouble. We understand then there is a shift of finances in the entire world's market. Obviously, you would find then the Brics system starting with infrastructure. But it's not the factor of investing in infrastructure companies. It is then step-by-step formation of a system yet generating via then the southern kingdom. So let's try to understand. As it was explained before many times, mining is going to be important, transportation is important, freighting is important, then oil is important, and if you evaluate infrastructure, it is precisely what these areas then makes a reference of. So you can expect your investment at some point to become very lucrative. Some people say it's very expensive. However, it is a bit expensive because it is always positive. You don't have then the shifting of the market up and down, sideways. You don't know what's going to be the next day. What you can understand is when the system becomes then, the Chinese system becomes protected from the rest of the world, then you understand why then should start with infrastructure companies. Because then Africa must be obviously developed, and then the representative of the southern kingdom is Mr. Zuma. So then afterwards he then bears the responsibility of visiting with the leaders of the continent of Africa, and then obviously mentioning his plans, and then for the benefit of the entire continent of Africa, of organizing themselves. And obviously would be the first sector would be infrastructure. You have to have roads. You have to have then railroad tracks then going to mines. You have to have the ores then smeltered. You have to have a deal then with petroleum companies. You have to use then coal for the smeltering. Each of these requires then the first steps infrastructure. But the positive section of it, it is always positive. Then, as you can understand, after Africa, because Africa must come first, because those are the iron of then Daniel 11. After Africa then is at least with a rough sketch of the plan, then you can expect Brazil being the next. Why Brazil? Because then makes the same reference as then Africa, the undeveloped northern part of Brazil. So then the infrastructure over there would be linked up with the infrastructure of Africa under the same Brics system. And then your investment already placed then in the proper usage. Then you can expect later then, when this system becomes then working properly, then later your investments they are going to products. Because what's lacking yet is the time for the development, where then later, when it is developed, when the infrastructure section of it is mostly then completed, then the only area left is the investment on products, thus then making the Chinese system worldwide. Then people should not be concerned with the high prices of what then the Brics charge, because it's always positive, never goes down, always up. So then, understandably, yesterday the South African government reduced the price of petrol, indicating already areas then the people are becoming more aware of their roles and understanding the new market emerging. But not only this, people should not be side-blinded only thinking of infrastructure. The objective of the system is truly, when the main bulk is protected from the West, protected from Europe, so then later develops in a worldwide system where then you invest on products. Then your investment started with infrastructure and then helped the system of Africa, helped then generate the roads, generated mining, generated smelting. Later then your investment becomes then product investment. And not only this, because then when Brazil is then involved, then you can understand obviously next year Panama Canal. So if you want a piece of the action, start already investing in the Bank of China or then the Brics system. Whatsoever you have to do with your money, if you have to take for some place or remove from some place, then do it so, but invest in the Brics system. You are going to have your money back, absolutely certain, because the system never goes down. Always up, up, up and up. Because as we understand, unfortunately US, Japan, and then unfortunately also Australia, they are involved in this hot zone over there from Japan and China. So then there is this desire of enticement of bringing trouble into the Asian market. It's not going to work. And if they persist with this problem, China then must hire the services of the Northern Kingdom. So then the pushing of the US in these countries is going to force China to protect themselves from these encroaching, and then obviously the Northern Kingdom must be hired as managers. Then when other nations wanting to do trade with China, they can do so on their terms, but then they can't go to China anymore. They must go to the Northern Kingdom. It gets done anyway, but then the BS of up and down market stops in the Northern Kingdom. Must be a deal closed, backed up, financed, and with the proper raw materials. So then your investment always goes up. There won't be a time where your investment is going down. Because the infrastructure gives you then steps of formation from the time where you get the mines then going, you get then the trains going, you get the carts going, then you get smeltering companies going. And the main objective at the end is then investing your money in the products. Then would be the market available for the rest of us. So don't be concerned with bad people bad mouthing the Brics system, because it's not going down. In fact, it's going up every time. Only we must be cautious, because if we provoke wars, if we influence the Asia market to do what they do not want to do, we're going to push them further, and they must then hire the Northern Kingdom's services. And then the party is over. Because there is no reason for provocation in the South China Sea or any place else. Because the answers were already given. The West is not part of Daniel 11. So obviously we should retrieve and work in our economy. And as we understand, when products then becomes available, then you can expect thousands upon thousands of freighting companies popping up everywhere in the world. Obviously this is going to increase your strategy, increases the volume, and then increase the demand for more crude. So then it is an absolutely certain area, but then people must understand the system of the West is no longer trustable. Europe is not trustable. Must give some time for those places then to set themselves down and then join up with the Chinese system. There is no other recourse. You don't find any other area in instructions where you find otherwise. There isn't. Because we are during the period of the dragon, no Balian system. It must be the dragon's system and comes from China. It's not a bad term. It's simply related with precision. Has to have precision, it must be backed up properly. So your investment is always secure. And the more you invest, the more you gain. So if you want to invest your money wisely, invest in the Brics system. Because later no longer is going to become Brics only, but then worldwide. The reason why it's Brics yet, it's because these nations are taking on the responsibility of it then coming out of these existing system, because it's absolutely a piece of junk. And then the Chinese system must be protected, as this plan then of exercise, military exercise in the hot zone over there, it's not going to work. It's going to push the Chinese further, the Asian market further, and they're going then to hire then the management of the Northern Kingdom. In exchange for these, then China receives oil and gas. So for a time, then their system is absolutely protected. Any country want to do trade with China must go through the Northern Kingdom. So then when you read the information regarding Brics, you find then there is, for instance, many charge, for instance, 5% of the initial cost. Let's say if you invest 1,000, only 950 pounds, for instance, would go into the fund. But that's absolutely true. However, because the system always goes up, and there is the initial cost of the system also. But as then picks up, then you receive more. It's a natural effect of development. But then the middleman is no longer gouging the most of the chunk of it. Then you get your proper share because it's related with growth. So it's a great way out of this uncertainty of the European zone and then the northern section of the Americas. US is absolutely adrift. Then we are provoking wars in South Korea, North Korea, and then provoking wars over there in the hot zone of China and Japan. Japan is going to print out more money. Australia is going to print out more money. So then to get away from this system, China must make a decision, because if they don't, they're going to jeopardize their system, because the Balian system is going to get in the Pacific. There are already soldiers, US soldiers in Australia. Then you find Australia joining up in a hot zone, then sending a Navy ship over there. So there is military movement. So China must be very wise and make sure they hire the Northern Kingdom's services. And then there is another situation going on then in the Northern Kingdom. There was a report from Moscow concerned because the government over there, they are thinking it is going to become another Stalingrad. Of course not. And it won't. Because the Chinese system is a system of gain. And it's proven. As the managers then helps China, obviously they adopted their system. So it's not going to be as it used to be in the Soviet Union. It's going to become higher than the Soviet Union. However, the system obviously is going to be socialist, but not the same as it was in the past. In whatever capacity you can think of, the similarities is very then close to what China is, obviously. So a straight path is already given. Then people and investors must be wise, understand the Brics is the solution, and they do a great job. And the tendency is to become then worldwide. Until Europe then sets down, North America then sets down, and then the rest can benefit from the system. Then we understand it, Daniel 11, then we understand also a couple of chapters later, or the extra chapters of Daniel. So then the investors then can do what they should, invest in the infrastructure of the Brics, because it is the starting point. And as far as this exercise over there in a hot zone, forget it, that's junk. People already know the intentions. And the Asians, they are already prepared for it. However, if we push the envelope very hard, they are going to hire the services of the Northern Kingdom. Then if we in America want to have a product produced in China, then we have to go through the Northern Kingdom. Thus our honorable friends of the 60s. Of course, this would make the situation a whole lot easier. So lots of new developments coming up. Stay tuned.